To introduce the winner of the Jane Addams Making History Award for Distinction in Public Service, please welcome the co-owner of the Chicago Cubs and the board chair of Cubs Charities, Laura Ricketts.
Let's hope we can all dream. This year, those dreams might actually come true. Thank you so much. I was honored when Art asked me to introduce him tonight. He's not only a great friend, he's also a great leader of a cause that has helped so many of our fellow citizens. You know, if you go online, you can find a website called the Encyclopedia of Chicago. It's put out by this little known organization called the Chicago History Museum. And there you can read about the first group in the United States created specifically to support gay rights. That date was December 10th, 1924. The place was Chicago, and the founder's name was Henry Gerber. By the next summer, his home had been raided by police. He and others had been put on trial for deviancy, and he had lost his job. The name of his organization was the Society for Human Rights. And more than 90 years later, that's still what it's all about, human rights. Nobody knows that better, and nobody has done more to make that a reality in Chicago than Art Johnston. The video that played earlier did a great job recounting the highlights of the fight for equality in Chicago and Illinois. And it rightly put Art at the epicenter of that movement. Thanks to him and many others, so much has changed. Take just one example. When Chicago's first gay pride parade was held in 1970, police estimated the crowd at about 150 people. Last June, 2 days after the U.S. Supreme Court made marriage equality the law of the land, not long after my own wedding, thank you, Supreme Court. Thank you. Last year, 1 million people celebrated at the 2015 Gay Pride celebration. But down through those decades, what Art has always known is that changing laws means first changing hearts and minds. And what happens, and that happens one-on-one, person to person. As Art always says, it's very hard to hate someone when you get to know them as a human being. Because we all know human beings have human rights. But Art has also served another very important role in Chicago's LGBTQ community. When you are gay, you can't always rely on your parents and other family members to fully understand what it's like to be gay. And in that respect, Art has served as a very wise and supportive mentor, much like a father figure to so many in our community. And Sidetrack has almost been like a second home, a very safe place for so many people in our community. And as such, he commands great respect and great love by Chicago's LGBT community, including myself. And that's why it's such a pleasure and a great honor to present this award to one very special and very loved person. And finally, I have a special message from Mayor Richard M. Daley, excuse me, to commemorate Art's award. I am sorry that I cannot be with you all this evening, but it is a great honor that I share my heartfelt congratulations to my good friend, Art Johnston, on receiving the Jane Addams Making History Award for Distinction in Social Service. Art is a passionate leader and is an inspiration. In 2012, I was honored to present him with the Lifetime Achievement Award for Equality Illinois. I will repeat what I told Art that joyous evening, as it remains true. His work for our LGBT communities and on behalf of our great city have made me a better mayor. Congratulations, Art. You deserve this honor and a rowdy round of applause. Richard M. Daley, former mayor of the city of Chicago.
Wow. Laura, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I am deeply honored and moved to be the first person from the LGBTQ community to receive a Making History Award from the Chicago History Museum. I want to thank the staff and board of directors of CHM, especially Gary Johnson, president of the museum, and Jim Alexander, chairman of the board of trustees. They are good friends and valued colleagues whose affirming support for our community is appreciated more than you or they will ever know. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the love of my life, excuse me a second, my partner of 43 years, who now, thanks to the remarkable arc of history, which really does bend toward justice, who is now my legally recognized spouse, Jose Pepe Pena, who has made my life the wonder that it is. His love makes me the luckiest person on earth. Until a short time ago, the words gay and history were seldom used in the same sentence. The stories of LGBT people, many of whom you think you know, have had the basic facts of their sexual orientation or gender identity systematically removed, erased, redacted from the common historical narrative that we have all grown up with. Not only have those of us who are LGBTQ not been told about the history of our contributions to the world, no one else has been told about it either. We have all been denied historically significant LGBT role models, and the price we as a society have paid is incalculable. Indeed, much of the histrionics and madness we see on the news every night, think North Carolina, is perpetuated by those whose hatred for LGBTQ people could not exist had we not been erased from the story of mankind. Every mythology and stereotype that has existed about people like me has only gained traction because there was no common history to counter it. Unlike other minority groups, LGBT people have always lacked the means for the intergenerational memory transfer. Almost none of us grew up with a gay grandpa who regaled the family with stories of the great gay old days. Our lesbian aunts and gay cousins who had no way to express their true gender identity, they lived in silence. And we remained as invisible to our own parents as we were to the world, too terrorized to live our real reality, contributing to our own redaction by taking the only refuge available to young LGBTQ people, the deafening, claustrophobic silence of the closet. For generation after generation, our stories have been obscured, rendering us invisible. invisible to you, invisible to ourselves in all but the most furtive ways. That invisibility has been a poison that has slowly eaten away at our self-esteem, our sense of personhood, our pride. For those of us who are adults, we may have learned to live with it, but for our young people, forced to grow up without any historical context for their existence, bullied mercilessly in school, unable to confide even in their own parents. Is it any wonder that the suicide rate for LGBTQ youth is 4 times that of straight kids? Until these kids and the straight kids who bully them are able to learn about all that LGBT people have contributed to the world, this epidemic of our kids destroying themselves will not stop. Though we gay folk may seem to have made it here in Chicago, the greatest city in the United States as far as I'm concerned, making this place an island of LGBTQ acceptance that exists as a beacon against the darkness that shrouds the states which surround us. Places where LGBTQ people remain under assault politically, morally, economically, systemically. And what is the common denominator? History. Or more precisely, the lack of it. Every single evil ever visited upon my community is a result of the fact that we have been removed from history, intentionally, because ours is an inconvenient truth. The need to make sure homosexuality was not validated by the number of astounding people in history who were gay has forced our erasure, leaving us all too easy to marginalize as a contemporary aberration, reinforcing our invisibility and denying the most vulnerable among us, our kids, the knowledge that people like them matter, that they have always mattered, even if no one bothered to tell them so. We are so fortunate to have an ally in the Chicago History Museum. Through the Out in Chicago series at CHM, we have been able to redeem a part of our past, which means so much to a community that hungers to understand their and its place in everybody else's history. Ours is an international city with people from every walk of life, including LGBTQ people who, no matter what their cultural origins, are united by their shared experience as outsiders. Thanks to the Chicago History Museum, through its programs, through its archival support, through its willingness to collaborate with our own LGBTQ history initiatives, this institution has helped capture the rich history of the exciting, complex, difficult LGBTQ communities of Chicago. You know, it's brilliantly fitting that the name on the award which I have received is Jane Addams. Jane Addams, whose contributions to the field of social justice have made her a legend in Chicago and an icon worldwide. She was an amazing woman who defied every social convention to provide services to the poor and disenfranchised simply because she knew it had to be done and a way needed to be found to do it. That's where Hull House came from Jane Addams, and from her partner of 40 years, Mary Rosette Smith. You have no idea what it means to an LGBTQ kid to learn that this lionized woman, this Nobel Peace Prize winner, was a lesbian. And if you didn't know that she was lesbian, you now understand exactly why it is so important that we begin to look at history through a new lens, one that sees every color of the rainbow. Thank you all very much.